Hi everyone, welcome to Season 1, Episode 6 of Fake Film School. This episode is titled Inside the Agency Unfiltered, which means we'll be exploring the traditional Hollywood talent agency experience. I'm a film producer, director, the curator of Fake Film School, and also your host, and a multi-hyphenate mogul with taste, Jasmine Bryant. Thanks for joining us, and let's get into it. I'm so stoked for today's guest. Hailing from the great state of New Jersey, Dan Rak is an agent in WME's independent department. His journey began in the mailroom in WME's New York office back in 2017, where he began his career in the non-scripted department before moving to LA to work in the film space. Through his agent journey, Dan has developed a sharp eye for talent and honed his unique taste in film. Dan's impressive roster includes films he sold, such as DIDI, which was a Sundance hit, Surfer, a Cannes breakout, showcasing his ability to champion a diverse range of projects that captivate audiences worldwide. A true Jersey native with an indie heart, Dan Rak is here to talk shop and share his journey in the world of independent film. Dan Rak's in the building. Welcome. Give it up for Dan Rak.
How you doing?
Hey, what's up?
It's nice to be here.
We're stoked. We made it on the Outlook calendar, everybody. This is like one-of-one experience. Seriously, it's an honor and a privilege. Thanks so much for joining us today. We appreciate it.
Yeah, it's nice to be here.
For this finale episode, we wanted to do something very special for you all. So we met Dan at WME and we're filming from the penthouse suite. I would be remiss not to mention William Morris Endeavor, aka WME, which is a leading entertainment agency representing the world's greatest artists. WME works with the clients across the full creative spectrum to diversify and grow their businesses, leverage their full potential of their intellectual property, and bring projects to life that define the cultural landscape. Clients ranging from Denzel Washington, Rihanna, Ryan Coogler, Angelina Jolie, Robert Downey Jr., Kevin Hart, LeBron James, SZA, etc. Here at Fake Film School, we operate through segments, and our first segment is titled Class Topic.
Today's class topic is called Inside the Agency Unfiltered,
which means we'll be exploring the traditional Hollywood talent agency experience. Shall we?
Sure.
Let's do it.
Cool.
The beginning of a lot of people's journey, as we both know, is the mailroom, right? You started in the mailroom in New York in 2017.
Yeah.
What qualities did that instill?
I think what was honestly kind of fun about it, and like there are certain highs are high and the lows are low in this business, whether you're in the mailroom or you're a coordinator or you're an agent, but I think it's about finding the enjoyment in it. It kind of felt like camp in a way, right? Here you are in a mailroom with a bunch of people that might be your age, 10 years older, 5 years older, and everyone's goal is to just try to identify where they want to be in this company, right? And where they fit in and who do they vibe with. And so, you know, of course, there's the aspect of sorting mail and doing all of that, but you know, taking every opportunity you have to, when you're pushing a mail cart, knock on an agent's door, say hello, ask questions, interact with the assistants, who, by the way, are the gatekeepers of this company.
Let's be very clear.
Let's be clear. The whole point of the mailroom is just to better understand the company that you're trying to work at, right? And understand the people who are there and what they do and how you can be helpful. The mailroom is what you make it.
It's what you make it.
Yeah.
One thing I loved about my mailroom experience was that you kind of do come in with a cohort. So I really resonated with what you said in terms of, I think you said internship, or it feels kind of almost like a grad school in a way, because you are oftentimes with a group of like-minded individuals and you kind of grow together. And a lot of times, you know, some people might climb the agency route, the traditional route, where others might part ways, go to a studio or go work freelance or go pursue photography. But it's a great place to start. You don't want to stay in the mailroom, right? If you want to climb at this company, you want to become an assistant.
I guess the traditional path, mailroom assistant, coordinator, agent, covering agent, partner, senior partner. I guess that's the traditional
Drop
path.
the gems. Wow. Can we get into the independent department? So you sit in the independent department, which at WME plays a unique role within the agency. With so many groups under one roof, what sets the independent department apart, and which teams do you collaborate with the most?
I'd say that everything we do primarily falls into three buckets between film packaging, sales, and representation. Right? Packaging is kind of the art of putting films together, right? It's not as simple as attaching a director or cast or a producer. There's an actual value that attaching those elements to a project might actually bring. And our job is to really kind of balance that intersection between art and commerce, right? Our goal is to try to help our clients achieve their their film, right? Get a film greenlit.
Yeah.
And to do that, that's part of what we do. We advise on that process. Sales is a big part of our business, right? It's the reason that I and most of our department frequent the film festivals, whether it's Sundance or Berlin or Cannes or Telluride or Venice or Toronto, the list goes on and on. Usually it's utilizing those festivals as a launch platform for sales. And then on the representation side, our bread and butter is representing financiers and producers.
The big bucks.
We're typically compensated by way of a retainer or because it's a 10% business. Generally speaking, it doesn't apply to every aspect of this company, but in most cases, a 10% business. But I think one of the best parts about kind of packaging and selling and being a part of independent film is that we get to work with so many clients of the agency, directors,
Absolutely.
writers, producers, talent. As a result of that, just to go back to your question, usually it's talent and lit that we tend to interact with the most, but there's a lot of crossover, right? I think, at least here, gone are the days that, okay, you represent a director and all you do is focus on directors, and gone are the days where you just represent producers, so that's it. And that's, I think the idea for us when we represent our clients, it's figuring out how many ways we can plug them into different areas of the business to help them scale their own business, right? And to help grow them, which is a lot of fun.
Speaking of servicing clients and working kind of across the board with different departments within the agency, what are key steps that need to happen to ensure a deal is closed? If we can ask,
Yeah, of
we
course.
don't want to step on toes.
No, you're not stepping on any toes. I think a key to closing a deal is to make sure that our client is happy and satisfied with where it's going, right? Our job is to offer direction. And as long as our clients are happy and the stakeholders involved are happy, I think that's really the key to closing a deal. Also, being a transparent partner. That's really, really important.
So no shady business for Dan Rak.
Not for us, no.
Love that for you.
No.
Thank you. Winning clients over.
Yeah.
What's the secret sauce to a successful signing meeting? And what is a signing meeting?
I mean, every agent might answer this a little bit differently, right? In the black and white model, a signing meeting means you're bringing in a client and explaining to them why they should be a part of our agency and why we should represent them, right? And them saying yes, right? Which I think in itself is one of the greatest compliments you can get from a client, right? Or prospective client is, okay, I trust you to help me with my business. I think I wouldn't say that there's a secret sauce other than, be authentic in how you approach clients and people and prospective stakeholders. I think it's also something that you kind of, similar to going back to the mailroom, right? You're not going to learn everything your first day here, your second day here, maybe even your first 10 days, 10 years here, right?
Yeah.
But the idea is to do the laps and go through the process and ask questions and utilize your colleagues, lean on them, ask them questions, go to people who have done it a bunch of times over.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
It's time for our next segment, which is titled Switch the Script, where it's Dan's opportunity to ask me a question or two. We'll see how this goes. Wish me luck, everyone. I can do that.
Pause. Hold on. It's the last episode of your first season, right? This has been an incredible experience for you.
Yeah.
Do you want me to ask you about that?
I mean, it's been great. This is like a passion project of mine. So it started as an idea, then we got it on the page, and now we have it on a screen, right? So to see that kind of come into fruition, like my heart is filled with joy, truly. And I'm doing it alongside some of my greatest friends that are in this business as well, which has been a good old time. They're all looking at me right now. But yeah, it's been great. I think so much of this for me was just about paying it forward. I mentioned this to you earlier, just the importance of mentorship, and I had a lot of great mentors coming up, but also just family and friends that really were championing me and believing in me, right? So because of that, I just think it's important for those who maybe don't globally or financially have the means to get to film school like I did to still have some of these great resources. So essentially, Fake Film School is free game. So thank you for helping me do that, truly.
No, I'm glad to be a part of it. It's a great answer, by the way.
Thanks, yeah. We'll just continue on. Thank you for being so candid and fun. I mean, for you, what's the best piece of advice you've ever given or received?
A lot of people have advice and give advice, unsolicited or not. So I think the best piece of advice that I got was right before I moved to LA from the New York office. And I was told, pick the teacher, not the course. And I think what that really means is by giving you an example, right? When I moved here, I wanted to work in scripted TV. That was what I was driven to do. And kind of taking that piece of advice to heart, I decided to float for someone in film. And despite the fact that it wasn't in scripted TV, I looked at this business, right, that this guy was in, and I looked at the last couple assistants that worked for him, and I saw that there was clearly a path to success.
It's time for our next segment, which is titled, What You Watching? Dan, any cool TV shows you've seen recently, more appropriately, any indies that you want to shout out today? Anything you've seen theatrically that you're excited about? Anything you want to share?
There's a lot.
There's a lot.
I'm going to avoid the more recent stuff.
Okay.
Because I don't want to upset anybody that I've had the pleasure of working with. But I think like we're in a business where a lot of us decide to make our passion our career, right? And I think it's important to also think back to what inspired those decisions. I love watching old movies. My favorite film of all time is Goldfinger. Nice. Came out in the 60s, right? It's something that I watch quite often. I watch a lot of the Bond movies, actually.
Okay.
On the TV side, Sopranos, The Wire, The West Wing.
Nice.
Seinfeld, which is almost every night for me. It's great. And I think even beyond that, despite the fact that I'm in film, I love stand-up comedy. It's something that I watch all the time, and I'm lucky to live in a city where there is a lot of great stand-up. And so to go back to it, what am I reading? What am I watching? Other than a bunch of scripts, I would say that I love revisiting the titles that inspired me to want to be here today.
I love that.
Yeah.
Are there any indies you can shout out? I recently watched Raw Peace on Netflix. I know it did really well at Sundance. Are there any other indies you can maybe drop on the people?
Sundance is a really great launch platform for wonderful films, and I've had the pleasure of working on a bunch. This year there was a film called DIDI. Sean Wong.
Congratulations.
Thank you. I really don't deserve the congrats. It's really on Sean and the producers. But I had the pleasure of working on that film and helping them through the process of getting it, greenlit and into Sundance and then sold. But I think a big part of that was working with such a great team, with Sean and Josh and Carlos. And
very cool.
Yeah.
Nice. Great film. For those who haven't seen DIDI, check it out. And with that, it's time for our last segment of the episode, the martini shot. For those that don't know, after a long day on set, when it's time to wrap, you may want to indulge. So it's time for the martini shot. Unfortunately, there's no martinis today. Sorry, Dan. But last piece of advice, if they don't take anything away from this episode, what would you want to leave them with?
I mean, this shouldn't even need to be said, but work hard, right?
Yeah.
Like, be curious, work hard, ask a lot of questions, preferably questions that can't just be answered on Google, but be curious and work hard. I think that will set you apart, and have an opinion, have a take. Material, scripts, content, it's all subjective, right?
Absolutely.
At the end of the day. And so I think it's important to have well thought out perspective on all these things that we consume every day, and try to identify where the gaps in the market are.
I love that. I agree 100%. I would probably just say, piggybacking off of that, is just like curating your taste and understanding what your taste is when you can kind of jump in that lane.
Yeah.
And also identifying maybe people whose taste you align with, and kind of knowing what films inspire you and what type of things you want to create. But taste is so important in this business, and clearly you have a lot of it. So Dan Rak, thank you so much for joining us at Fake Film School. It's been such a pleasure.
Thanks for having me.
Of course. And with that, it's a wrap on season 1, episode 6 of Fake Film School, featuring the one and only Dan Rak. Thank you for joining us. See you guys soon.
Thanks, guys.
Give it up for Dan Rak, ladies and gentlemen.